Broker Bulletin acknowledges the traditional custodians of all the lands across the country on which we record our podcast and pays its respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Welcome to the Broker Bulletin podcast, where better begins. Join us as we chat with brokers about what's working for them, what drives them, and the real challenges and wins that matter most right now.
I'm joined by MK, Loan Market's National Head of Business Performance, for a straight talking session on how brokers can take control of their numbers, run more profitable, sustainable businesses. We unpack where the profit tends to leak and how to read your numbers like a CEO, and in the 3 key metrics every brokers should be tracking monthly. MK, let's get into it.
How good. Lovely introduction. Thank you.
Thank
MK.
you. So profit is a choice. What do we mean by that when we're talking about broker businesses? Profit is a choice.
So profit, it doesn't magically appear at the end of the year. It's actually a deliberate actions that the business owner will actually undertake each month. If I break it down, a broker business, profit is a choice because you choose what you work on. You choose how many staff, you choose the structure you want to run with, you choose what you measure, you choose what you hold your team accountable for, and you also choose whether or not growth is a discipline or whether or not growth is chaotic, which is no strategy.
Yeah, very nonchalant, you know?
Yeah, good call.
So where does profit normally leak, and why don't brokers ever see it coming?
Yeah, it's good. It's a good call. So I would say definitely overstaffing.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's 2 things on overstaffing. Is one would be hiring before the revenue justifies the hire. But the other thing is what we've actually seen is a lot of businesses hold fat in their P&L. So what I mean by that is they might hire somebody. We've got to be really careful with this. We don't want to tolerate underperformers in a business.
Yeah.
So what they will do is they'll hire and they'll keep hiring based on what needs they have in the business. But what they've probably got is they have a need to keep hiring, which creates overstaffing because they're tolerating underperformers. So one is overstaffing is an issue. The other is sort of tying into that poor role quality.
Yeah.
So what that means is having the wrong person completing the wrong task. A good way to sort of work that out is based on what we pay someone in a particular role. So if you've got someone at $70 or $80 an hour and they're doing a $20, $30 a task, that's poor role quality or the wrong person in the wrong role. And then things like we've got issues around trail in the sense that there's complacency there. We might be getting some runoff. We might be losing clients off the back of it because we're not providing the support. Probably just the business owner spending too much time in the trenches as a broker and not actually taking time to step back and having a real good look to make sure that not only is the business performing well from a gross revenue point of view, but from a net margin point of view is actually performing really well as well.
So what's a healthy profit margin look like in a business, broker business today? Yeah,
so I'll do it around net profit. So if you're 20% or less, probably we need to work on that.
Yeah.
If you're sitting at 25 to 30%, I'd say that's healthy. It's good. If you're 30% net profit and above, that's really good. That's healthy. That's scalable. That's really strong. And what I'd probably say with that is we need to ensure that in that profit margin, with the director or the business owner is actually taking a director wage out based on the task and the activities they're completing.
Going back to your point before with business owners spending too much time in the business, how do we help business owners shift their mindset so they can start acting like a CEO of their business?
Yeah, a good call. So we've got to get them out of the grind.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like we've got to get them out of get them off the tools a bit or get them sort of out of the grind. The difference between a broker and a CEO, like a broker that's thinking more like a CEO, the CEO focuses more on the system. So what do I need to do? Who do I need in the business to be able to provide more capacity? How do I get the right people in the right roles to be able to make sure that it frees not only the business owner, but the income producing team to be able to free them up to get in front of more customers, which is more revenue, so drives more revenue back into the business. But if I stay on the CEO broker piece, what they need to be focused on is, designing the right roles before hiring the people. So how one thing is you say, how do you do it? Do you go and build the role that you need, like go and create a role that the business needs to be fulfilled and then go and hire the best person for the role? Or the other option is you've got someone in the team and then you go create a role to suit the individual. So it's definitely the first. You've got to create what role is needed in the business and then hire the right person for the role. Then you've got to build capacity within the team. So making sure that the team are able to handle. It might be process reviews, Kaizen sessions. How do we free the team up to be able to get in front so the business can process more transactions? We've got to measure performance, not just effort. So it's all about making sure a CEO in the business will be focused on measuring performance, not noise, and making the right decisions based on data, not just gut feel. So that's the key points for a CEO.
So if you're not going off gut feel and you're actually looking at the numbers, like how often should we be looking at the numbers and what numbers are we actually looking at?
So monthly, not negotiable, okay?
Yeah.
So one thing, some business owners are so focused on gross revenue, they'll look at their profitability or the financials once every 12 months when their accountant rings them up and says, hey, we need to come together, which is pretty scary. So you can't do that. So we've got to be looking at monthly. One thing that you'll probably ask is what numbers matter? So what's important? So definitely, you heard me talking about right people, right roles. So revenue per FTE is important. Also, profit per FTE. And look, one thing our profit team do, so our profit team will work out, say a business owner has brokers within the business, the profit team will work with the business owners about creating sort of like a line item in their financials. So for each broker pod. And the reason for that is so the business owner can track the profitability. So what revenue that pod is creating, so each broker, what the cost base is for that pod as well. And that is great because then we can actually see whether or not the activity for that pod is where it needs to be or whether or not we need to dial it up to drive more revenue back in. Conversion at each stage. So, from appointment through to lodgement, through to approval, through to settlement. What's the conversion? And they keep tracking what the conversion is for each pod. The cost as a percentage of the revenue.
Yeah. So
what our cost base is for the business to generate a certain amount of upfront revenue or revenue. And the last being trail retention as well. So ensuring trail retention. But hey, one thing I'll also sort of share a bit of gold if you like to simplify things. One thing we really focus on is when we set the plan for each business, normally we talk about 1.5 times growth within Elevate. But the other thing is I want all of our businesses running their cost base plus director wages just on upfront revenue.
Yeah.
And that is so key. And you can do that, but it's all about making sure that you're very clear on what the activity is to generate the revenue to be able to run the business on upfront. And if you do that, no matter the size of the business, 100% of the trail comes out as profit back to the business owner over and above the director wage. Can
you walk us through what a simple profit framework every broker could use?
Yeah, sure. So if I tie it back into the profit team, and the profit team's awesome. Like it's something that's only available to loan market and partner businesses within LMG. It's been instrumental because normally, like before we kicked it off, it was all focused on gross revenue. The profit team spent a lot of time making sure that profit per business owner or per business is where it needs to be. Tying back into those 3 different tiers I shared with you earlier on. But if I look into the 4 buckets, this is Elevate's lens. It's, 1, revenue, 2, efficiency, 3, leverage, and last, of course, is definitely profit for the business. And look, if profit is thin, one of those 4 key drivers is broken.
Now, going back to, you said that looking at these numbers every month was a non-negotiable. What are the top 3 metrics that brokers should be looking at?
Yeah. So I know you love settlements. So settlements is key, especially at 1.5 times growth. So settlements is a must. The other thing I'll probably say is we're talking about that profit margin, that 20, 30, 40%. So definitely profit margin is key and where it needs to get to. And remember, if we're spending time each month, where we should be is if we're not on track, what do we need to do as a partnership to be able to shift the business to where it needs to be at that 30, 35% profit margin? And the last thing is, you heard me talking about, we've got to have the right people in the right roles. And look, it's not saying they're underperforming or they're not the right person for the business, but we need to ensure if there is someone that's paid $60, $70, $80 an hour, they are not doing $20, $30 an hour tasks. So what that means is revenue per FTE. And what those 3 things tell me is, the engine is healthy. You heard me talking gross revenue is show. It's what you see on the surface. This is all about when you get under the hood, what's the profitability of the business, how much margin, and really how healthy that business is. Are your team being leveraged where they should be? Do you have the right people in the right roles? And is the growth of the business sustainable for now, but also long term?
Now, at LMG, we work with very different type of broker businesses, right? We've got asset only, we've got commercial only, we've got resi only, but when we're talking about a diversified broker group, where do you think that they're leaving the most amount of money on the table, and how do they fix that?
So first is the best low-hanging fruit, and I'll just stay on that. It's back book, okay?
Yeah.
So remember your back book. These are customers that love you, they trust you, they respect you. And even when you start tracking the numbers, so one thing I'll encourage everybody, go back and track your numbers. Like have a look at where your leads have come in over the last 12 months. So where have they come and what's the conversion been? When we track it in Elevate, all of our best businesses, they normally sit between 60 and 70% will come from existing customers or referrals from existing customers. So one of the biggest challenges for a business, they get so busy chasing that shiny new toy, which is rubbish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they forget about what's going to make money and guarantee the lower hanging fruit, which is existing customers and referrals, because you don't need to sell yourself to them and you don't need to pay for them. They're already there. The second one is poor delegation. You're giving the wrong task to the wrong people. Okay, so the delegation doesn't work. Delegation could also mean the damn business owner who should be income producing because he's normally the best broker in that business doing the wrong task. And the third thing you sort of touched on earlier on, diversification. So going back into your back book, your customers trust you, they believe in you, they respect you. If you go and roll out asset, commercial, whatever you choose to do, those customers are going to come back and they're going to want to engage you.
Yeah, wow, 60%, that's huge. So if you don't have a refer a friend program, guys, make sure you're getting onto that. Now, can you share me a real life example of one of the brokers that you've worked with the Elevate program, how they tightened their margins and grew their profit?
Yeah. So we had a business that was sitting below 15%. So we did a couple of things on that. So I might give you two examples actually. So they were run at 15%. What we did, you heard, we introduced a profit team. And what we did is with the brokers they had in the business, we tracked the profitability, so the revenue plus cost base for each broker pod. And we worked with the business owner to ensure that each pod was where it needed to be. And if it wasn't, we increased the KPIs to justify it. There was even one or two of these pods, the financials were set up the wrong way.
Yeah.
Okay. So the margin. So that's one of the biggest gaps or challenges around profitability is sometimes we might put somebody on in the business, a broker. And remember, if you're going to hire a broker and bring them into the business, remember you're not hiring you. So what I mean by that is we need to make sure if you're going to bring somebody on, you get the model right for the business. So whatever the margin, if they're coming in as a contractor, if they're an employee, whatever the base is, but making sure the activity justifies what we're paying them. Yeah. And we don't share any of the commissions until they generate a certain amount of uplift. Once we did that, it was great. Like revenue for each of the pods, it freed up heaps of time for the business owner because it gave structure, was really clear on activity, gave him, the business owner, now the framework to hold each broker accountable in the weekly meetings. But the third thing is, so it lifted revenue by 20%. But what was awesome, the profitability lifted by 50%, which was so good. Yeah. And within 8 months or 9 months, it was amazing.
Wow.
The second one, real quick, which was really good. This was an amazing chairman's business, really big business
for
within
listeners.
the group.
For what's a chairman's business?
So chairman's business, top 1% within loan market and partner.
Right.
So top 1% of businesses that are out there, just based on upfront revenue, growing, great businesses to be part of. What it was at that 1.5 times growth. And maybe I was saying sometimes as a business when you're running profit, you hold fat in the P&L.
Yeah.
So I put a challenge out there at 1.5 times growth. I asked them to go in there and review their cost base. And I asked them to strip 250K out of the P&L over the next 12 months and still run at 1.5 times growth. Yeah. So they still ran at 1.5 times growth, but they stripped 470 out of their P&L.
Wow.
So from the profitability point of view, that is off the charts, but it gives you an idea is if you get your head, like if you spend time as a CEO in the business, some of the changes.
At the numbers.
Knowing your data. Yeah. Really good.
Knowing your data, that's something that we drill into all of our brokers. When they say, I think or I feel, it's like, what does the data say? Have you looked at the numbers? For anyone listening today, what's one action that you want to give everyone to take away this week to help them get closer to a healthy profit? Yeah.
So tie it back into the two things. So one is, look at the team and make sure that you've got the right people in the right roles, but make sure they're doing the right task.
Yeah.
So tie it back into the dollar specific. So that's $70, $20, you guys work it out. Second thing, if I shift from being a broker to a CEO, what would I stop doing? So what would I stop doing if I'm a CEO, not just a broker? And the last thing I'll probably do is at the end of the month, go back and have a look at where all the profit went. So go in and have a look at each of your pods, each of your roles within the business. Where are you spending money? And if you had your time again, would you do it?
Well, that's all we've got for you today in this episode, guys. So thank you for listening as always. And if you've got a topic that you would like us to cover, make sure you email brokerbulletin@lmg.broker or DM us on Instagram, which is @lmg.broker, and our producers will make sure we get it on the list. If you like this episode, follow and rate us as your favorite podcast app. It really helps us grow. And as always, we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for tuning in to Broker Bulletin. We would hate for you to miss an episode. Subscribe to Broker Bulletin in your favourite podcast app. Has this episode been helpful? We'd love you to rate and review us. It'll help us deliver content that's useful to you and help others discover us. If you have great ideas for topics worth tackling or have burning questions you'd like addressed on an upcoming episode, reach out. Links in the show notes. See you next time.